The massive hall buzzed with voices from 100 different worlds. Admiral Ayler stood tall on his speaking platform, his crystal-like skin catching the bright lights above. His people, had ruled the galaxy's military forces for 3,000 years. Today, he would deal with a small problem that annoyed him greatly. A human sat in the audience. Captain wore a simple blue uniform that looked cheap compared to the glowing robes and metal suits around her. She was the first human to ever visit this place. Her people wanted to join the Galactic Council, but Ayler thought this was a joke. "Council members," Ayler began, his voice sharp like breaking glass. "Today we discuss the humans' request to join our ranks. I have studied their files. They are mammals. Mammals. They still use their original bodies with no improvements. They live for less than 100 years. Their planet only discovered space travel 50 years ago." Several council members made sounds of agreement. The ambassador's tentacles waved in amusement. The machine-like delegates' eye lights blinked in what might have been laughter. Ayler continued his speech. "These creatures have no quantum technology. They cannot bend space or time. Their ships move slowly through normal space using primitive rockets. Their weapons are simple metal projectiles and basic energy beams. They have not even mastered biological engineering to improve their weak bodies." He pointed at Captain. "Look at her. She breathes oxygen like an animal. She will die if the temperature gets too hot or cold. Her brain is made of soft tissue that stops working when damaged. How can such primitive beings help our advanced civilization?" The human captain sat quietly through all of this. Her face showed no anger or fear. This surprised some of the aliens who watched her. "But," Ayler said with what sounded like kindness but was actually cruelty, "we are fair beings. We do not judge without proof. I propose a trial." The room became quiet. Trials were serious things in galactic law. "There is a region of space called the Expanse," Ayler explained. 3 powerful alien races fight there constantly. They have been at war for over 2,000 years. The Eye breed like insects and attack in huge swarms. They are made of pure energy and can drain power from any machine. The Nexus are part machine, part brain, and think faster than any normal being. He smiled, showing teeth like sharp diamonds. "Many species have tried to bring peace to that region. All failed. The strongest lasted 6 months before running away or dying. I suggest we send the humans there for 1 full year. If they can survive and prove their worth through superior military might, we will consider their membership." Several council members spoke at once. The delegate stood up. "Admiral, that region is extremely dangerous. Even our advanced scouts avoid long missions there." "Exactly," Ayler replied. "A true test requires real danger. These humans claim they deserve to join us. Let them prove it where it matters most." The crystalline collective speaker made a sound like wind chimes. "What if they simply hide for a year? Survival alone does not prove military worth." Ayler had already thought of this. They must establish a base in the center of the fighting zone. They must survive attacks from all 3 enemy factions. And they must show measurable progress toward ending the conflict. Simple hiding will not be enough. For the first time, Captain stood up. "Admiral Ayler, I request permission to speak." The Admiral waved a crystal hand. "Very well. Let us hear what wisdom your primitive mind offers." Looked around the room at hundreds of alien faces. Some looked curious. Others seemed bored. A few appeared hungry, which worried her. "Honored council members, my people accept this trial. We understand the risks, but we ask for one thing in return." "You are hardly in a position to make demands," Ayler said coldly. "Not a demand, a request," remained calm. "If we succeed, if we last the full year and make real progress in the Expanse, we ask that humanity be granted full membership with voting rights, not partial membership or observer status." The room buzzed with surprised voices. This was bold even for a desperate species. Ayler laughed, a sound like crystal breaking. You have confidence, I will give you that. Very well. Full membership if you succeed. When you fail, your planet becomes a protected zone under oversight. Your people can live their simple lives under our guidance, never bothering advanced civilizations again. Several council members looked uncomfortable with this harsh term, but none spoke against the powerful admiral. Agreed, said immediately. The vote was quick. Every member raised their hand, tentacle, or energy field in agreement. The humans would go to the expanse. Most aliens in the room expected to forget about Earth within 6 months. As the council session ended, Admiral Ayler approached Captain. I almost feel guilty sending you to die, but the galaxy must learn that advancement requires more than wishful thinking. Your soft bodies and slow minds cannot handle real warfare. Met his crystalline eyes. Admiral, my species has a saying, we plan for the worst and hope for the best. You might be surprised what humans can do when we have to. Impossible, Ayler said firmly. I have fought across this galaxy for 800 years. I know what real military power looks like. You have none. The human captain smiled slightly. We'll see. As she walked away, Admiral Ayler felt satisfied. Another primitive species would learn their place. The galaxy would return to its proper order. His 3,000-year-old military reputation would remain perfect. He had no idea that he had just made the biggest mistake of his very long life. Back on her ship, Captain contacted Earth. The video message would take weeks to reach home, but her words were simple. Trial accepted. Expanse in 3 months. Send everything we have. This is not about proving we can fight like them. This is about proving we can fight like us. The greatest military challenge in human history was about to begin. Captain watched the stars change color as his ship dropped out of hyperspace. 6 months had passed since the trial began, and the human fleet now hung in space at the edge of the expanse. Behind him, 47 ships held everything Earth could spare. They were not the biggest ships or the fastest, but they were all humanity had. Contact ahead, reported Lieutenant Sarah from her sensor station. 3 signatures, different types. Nodded. The welcoming committee put me on ship-wide communication. His voice reached every human in the fleet. All ships, this is Captain. We are about to meet our neighbors. Remember the mission. We are not here to conquer. We are here to survive and learn. Stay alert, stay flexible, and stay human. The first contact came exactly as Earth's intelligence had predicted. A swarm of small ships moved toward them like angry bees. These were the Eye, creatures that bred fast and fought in huge numbers. Their ships were biological, grown rather than built, and they attacked anything that entered their territory. Incoming swarm 130 ships, reported. They are moving to surround us. On most alien ships, this would be the moment for powerful shields and heavy weapons, but human ships were different. All ships, scatter pattern 7, ordered. Use the asteroid field, make them work for every shot. The human fleet broke apart like a school of fish avoiding a shark. Each ship moved in a different direction, using chunks of space rock as cover. The Eye had never seen this before. They were used to enemies that fought in formation, trading shots until the stronger side won. Sir, the Eye are confused, said, watching her screens. They are trying to reform their attack pattern. Good, that gives us time to study them. Had learned something important about humans during his military career. They were not the strongest or fastest, but they learned faster than anyone else. Science team, analyze their movement patterns. Engineering, I want to know how those bioships work. The battle lasted 3 hours. The humans lost 2 ships, but the Eye lost 20. More importantly, the humans had learned how the enemy moved, how they communicated, and how they made decisions. 2 days later, they met These beings were made of pure energy and lived inside specially designed ships. They attacked by draining power from enemy vessels, leaving them dead in space. Power drain detected, reported the engineering officer. They are trying to shut us down. Switch to backup systems, ordered. All ships go to kinetic weapons only, no energy beams. They had expected the human ships to die when their power failed. Instead, the humans began firing simple metal projectiles from old-fashioned guns. The energy beings had no defense against solid bullets traveling at high speed. "Sir, they are retreating," reported with surprise. "They seem confused by our tactics." The third faction found them a week later. The Nexus were part machine and part living brain. They thought faster than any normal being and could predict enemy moves before those enemies made them. Their ships were perfect geometric shapes that moved with mathematical precision. "Watch them approach. They will try to calculate our next move. All ships random pattern delta, no formation flying. Every captain makes their own decisions." What followed was the strangest space battle in the Expanse's history. The Nexus calculated human moves, but the humans kept changing their plans. When the Nexus predicted they would attack from the left, humans came from the right. When calculations showed humans would retreat, they charged forward instead. "Sir, I'm getting reports from all three factions," said during a quiet moment between battles. "They are talking to each other." Raised his eyebrows. "That's new. Intel said they never cooperate. It seems like we are making them nervous." Meanwhile, far away on his command ship, Admiral Ayler reviewed reports from his monitoring stations. Sub-Commander stood next to him, holding a data tablet that showed impossible numbers. "Sir, the humans have been in the Expanse for 6 months and 12 days, reported carefully. "They have engaged all three factions multiple times. Their survival rate is unexpected." "How unexpected?" Ayler asked with irritation. "They have lost only 7 ships out of 47. The previous record for any species was losing half their fleet in the first month." Ayler stood up from his crystal chair. "Impossible. What tactics are they using? Surely they have some hidden super weapons." Consulted his tablet. "Actually, sir, their weapons are exactly as primitive as our initial assessment. Simple projectiles, basic energy beams, and chemical explosives. Nothing we have not seen before." "Then how are they surviving?" "They appear to be learning, sir. After each battle, they change their tactics. They also seem to be studying the enemy factions instead of simply fighting them." Ayler made a sound like crystals grinding together. "Learning, any species can learn. That is not special." "Yes, sir, but they learn very quickly, and they share information across their entire fleet instantly. When one ship discovers something, all ships know it within minutes." The Admiral walked to his viewing screen, which showed the distant expanse. "It does not matter. Learning tactics is one thing. Actually winning battles is another. The three factions will eventually coordinate their attacks. When that happens, 40 primitive ships cannot survive." "Actually, sir," said very carefully, "the factions are beginning to coordinate, but not in the way we expected." "Explain." "They are sharing information about human tactics. The Hive Queens are talking to Nexus command nodes. They have started sending energy patterns to both other factions. They seem to consider humanity a common threat." Ayler felt a small chill run through his crystal body. In 2,000 years of war, the three factions had never worked together for any reason. How are the humans responding to this new threat? "We do not know yet, sir. But Captain has requested all available data on faction psychology and communication methods. He also asked for historical records of any previous diplomatic contact attempts." "Diplomatic contact," Ayler laughed harshly. "Those factions understand only strength. They have been killing each other for 2. They will not listen to words from primitive mammals." But even as he said this, Admiral Ayler felt something he had not experienced in 800 years of military service: doubt. These humans were not behaving like any species he had studied. They did not follow the rules of proper warfare. Back in the Expanse, Captain called a meeting of all ship commanders via video link. 47 human faces looked at him from their various bridges. The enemy factions are starting to work together, told them. This is actually good news. Several captains looked confused. Sir, how is being outnumbered 800 to 1 good news? Asked Commander Tors from the science vessel Curiosity. Smiled, because now we know something they do not know yet. What's that, sir? Asked Captain Park from the supply ship Endurance. We know they can talk to each other. That means they can listen too. And if they can listen, maybe they can learn. Sarah, I want you to prepare a communication package, not a surrender, an offer. Lieutenant, now promoted to commander after her excellent work, looked excited. What kind of offer, sir? The kind that might make them realize that humans are not like any enemy they have faced before. We are going to try something that no species has attempted in the expanse for 2,000 years. What's that? Asked Commander Tors. Captain's smile grew wider. We are going to try being friends. Commander Sarah stood in the communication room of the human flagship, watching the most important message in human history travel through space. 9 months had passed since they entered the expanse. Captain had died 3 weeks ago, holding off a massive Nexus assault so the fleet could escape. Now the responsibility fell on her shoulders. The message was simple but revolutionary. Instead of threatening the Eye Swarm, had sent an offer to help them solve a problem that had plagued their species for centuries. Commander, we are receiving a response, reported Communications Officer Park. It's from the Eye Queen Mother herself. Took a deep breath. No human had ever spoken directly to a Eye leader. Their species organized like insects, with millions of workers following a few queens. The Queen Mother was their ultimate ruler. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers sounded like wind through grass, but the translation software made the words clear. Human leader, you speak of helping our reproduction cycles. Why would prey help predator? Had practiced this moment in her mind hundreds of times. Queen Mother, humans do not see other species as predators or prey. We see potential partners. Your people face a genetic bottleneck that limits your population growth. Our scientists believe they can help. Silence filled the communication room. Then the Queen Mother spoke again. You offer aid to enemies who attack you. We offer aid to neighbors who might become friends, replied. Your people are skilled biological engineers. Our people are creative problem solvers. Together, we might achieve what neither could do alone. 3 days later, Dr. Santos traveled to a neutral asteroid in a small shuttle. She was humanity's best expert on alien biology. Waiting for her was something that had never happened before, a Eye Queen agreeing to meet face-to-face with another species. The Queen was smaller than Santos had expected, about the size of a human child but with 6 arms and compound eyes. Her name was Clickwhistlehum, which the translation software shortened to Harmony. Your genetic data shows the problem clearly, Santos explained, showing holographic displays of iDNA. Your people have been breeding from the same genetic pool for too long. This causes fewer successful births and weaker offspring. Harmony's wings buzzed with what might have been interest. Our bioshapers have known this for 300 cycles, but mixing genetic lines from different hives causes violent rejection. Offspring die within days. Santos nodded. On Earth, we faced a similar problem with some plant species. We developed a technique called genetic bridging. Instead of mixing genes directly, we introduce neutral genetic material that helps different lines work together. She showed diagrams of the process. We could adapt this technique for your people. It would not change what makes Eye unique, but it would allow successful reproduction between different hives. Harmony studied the data for a long time. Finally, she spoke. If this works, my people could increase population by 400% within 10 cycles. If this works, Santos agreed, Your people and my people could be partners instead of enemies. 2 weeks later, the first genetically bridged eye eggs hatched successfully. The offspring were healthy, strong, and showed genetic diversity the species had not seen for centuries. The news traveled fast through eye hive networks. For the first time in memory, queen mothers began talking about humans as something other than targets. Meanwhile, they had been watching these developments with growing curiosity. These energy beings had their own problems that they had never shared with solid matter creatures. Captain received the first diplomatic message, while his ship patrolled the outer regions of the expanse. Human vessels. The message came as patterns of light that the computers translated into words. We observe your interaction with bioswarm species. We request similar meeting. Contacted commander immediately. Within hours, human engineer James found himself in the strangest meeting of his life, floating in space inside a specially designed containment suit while speaking to beings made of pure energy. This problem was almost the opposite of the eyes. As energy beings, they could not easily interact with solid matter. This limited their ability to build complex structures or gather certain types of resources. For 2,000 cycles, we have tried to develop better interfaces with solid matter, explained the speaker, whose name translated as Bright Flow. Our energy fields disrupt most materials we touch. Studied the technical data they provided. Human engineering had always focused on making things work with whatever materials were available. What if instead of trying to touch solid matter directly, you used an intermediate field, something that could carry your energy patterns but also interact with solid objects? The solution was surprisingly simple once explained it. By creating a special type of electromagnetic field that could control solid matter without directly touching it. Human engineers provided the field equations, while energy manipulation skills made it work. The first successful test came when Brightflow used the new interface to build a small structure from metal asteroids. For energy beings who had been limited to their special ships, this was revolutionary. Humans think differently than expected, Brightflow told Commander during a follow-up meeting. We assumed all solid matter species were similar. You prove this assumption wrong. Smiled, different does not mean worse. It just means different possibilities. Far away, Admiral Ayler paced the bridge of his command ship like a caged animal. Sub-Commander brought him reports that made no sense. Sir, long-range sensors detect cooperative activity in the expanse, reported nervously. I and human ships are working together on some kind of construction project. Energy signatures are also involved. Impossible, Ayler said for the 1,000th time. The Eye attack anything that moves. They do not cooperate with outsiders. Sir, we also detect unusual communication patterns between the factions. They appear to be sharing technical data. Ayler stopped packing. Sharing technical data. Those factions have been trying to steal each other's secrets for 2. Yes, sir. But humans appear to be acting as intermediaries. They take information from one faction, modify it somehow, and share it with others in ways that benefit everyone. The Admiral's crystal skin began to change color, shifting to deep red. This was a sign of extreme agitation among his people. How are they modifying the information? We are not sure, sir, but preliminary analysis suggests humans are finding connections between different technologies that the original creators never considered. They seem to think about problems differently than other species. Ayler walked to his command chair and sat down heavily. Status report on human fleet strength. They have lost 11 ships total, sir, mostly to accidents during the early contact phase. No ships lost to direct combat in over a month. How is that possible? The 3 factions were coordinating against them. Consulted his data pad carefully. Sir, it appears the factions are no longer coordinating against the humans. They are beginning to coordinate with them. The sound Admiral Ayler made was like an avalanche of broken crystal. For 800 years, he had studied military tactics across the galaxy. He understood conquest, intimidation, and the proper use of overwhelming force. But what was happening in the expanse was something entirely outside his experience. "Sir," continued hesitantly, "should we contact the humans? Perhaps open direct diplomatic channels?" "No," Ayler stood up suddenly. "We will not negotiate with primitive mammals. They are simply lucky. When the Nexus realizes what is happening, they will put an end to this nonsense." But even as he said this, Admiral Ayler felt that uncomfortable feeling of doubt growing stronger. The humans had been in the expanse for 9 months. According to every military manual ever written, they should have been extinct 6 months ago. Instead, they appeared to be thriving. And the 3 most dangerous factions in known space were starting to work with them instead of against them. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Ayler began to wonder if he might have made a terrible mistake. The Nexus collective mind processed 10,000 thoughts per second, but even its vast intelligence struggled to understand what was happening in the expanse. For the first time in its existence, the collective was experiencing something it had no data for: confusion. Commander received the Nexus communication request while reviewing construction plans for the new Joint Research Station. The message came in pure mathematics, which human computers translated into words. "Human Commander, the collective requires explanation of current tactical situation. I and actions do not match 2,000 years of behavioral data." Had been expecting this. The Nexus were logical beings who existed as a merger of biological brains and quantum computers. They calculated probabilities and predicted outcomes with perfect accuracy. Until now. "Nexus Collective, this is Commander. We would be happy to meet with your representatives." The response came immediately. "Meeting serves no logical purpose. Humans are inferior tactically, technologically, and intellectually. Yet current situation suggests otherwise. Explanation required." Smiled at the blunt assessment. "Nexus Collective, perhaps we could demonstrate something more interesting than explanations. We would like to make an offer." 3 days later, found herself in the strangest meeting yet. She floated in a specially designed chamber aboard a Nexus ship, facing 3 beings who were part organic brain and part computer. Their names were mathematical formulas, so she called them Logic, Process, and Calculate. "Human Commander," Logic spoke with a voice like digital music, "collective analysis shows impossible results. Your species lacks statistical advantage in all measurable categories, yet you survive and prosper. Request explanation of this paradox." Had prepared carefully for this moment. "Nexus Collective, your calculations are perfect, but they are based on old assumptions. You calculate what happens when species fight each other, but what happens when species work together?" Process leaned forward, mechanical parts whirring softly. "Cooperation between different species results in 94.7% probability of failure due to communication barriers, cultural conflicts, and resource competition." "That's true if you force different species to work exactly the same way," agreed. "But what if differences become advantages instead of problems?" She activated a holographic display showing the recent achievements in the expanse. The Eye are expert biological engineers, but they think in terms of hive minds. They understand energy better than anyone, but they cannot easily manipulate solid matter. Humans are good at creative problem-solving and seeing connections others miss. Calculate process this data rapidly. Statistical analysis shows each species contributing unique capabilities. Combined effectiveness increases exponentially rather than. "Exactly," said. "Instead of everyone trying to be the same, everyone gets to be their best different selves." Logic made a sound like a computer thinking very hard. This suggests efficiency improvements of 847% over single-species operations. Noted, but the Nexus Collective has something none of the other species possess. You can think faster and more accurately than anyone. You could coordinate these differences better than anyone else. The three Nexus representatives went silent for several minutes, their organic and mechanical parts processing this concept at lightning speed. Finally, Process spoke. Human Proposition suggests the collective could improve its own efficiency by accepting input from chaotic, unpredictable sources. We call it creativity, said. Sometimes the best solutions come from thinking that does not follow logical patterns. Calculates mechanical eye focused on her. This contradicts fundamental collective principles. Leaned forward. What if it did not have to? What if human observers could be connected to your network as external consultants, not part of the collective, but available when you need a different perspective? The concept was revolutionary. The Nexus had always absorbed other beings completely into their collective consciousness. The idea of maintaining external individuals who could provide input without full integration had never been considered. Proposal requires extensive analysis, Logic finally said. Collective will consider terms. 2 weeks later, the first human Nexus integration experiment took place. Dr. Michael, a systems analyst from Earth, was connected to the Nexus network through a special interface that allowed communication without absorption. The results amazed everyone involved. When the Nexus calculated the optimal route for supply ships, suggested using gravitational currents that the computers had dismissed as too chaotic to be useful. The new route reduced travel time by 30%. When the collective designed a new communication system, pointed out that adding intentional randomness would make signals harder to intercept. The Nexus had never considered making things deliberately unpredictable. Most importantly, helped the collective understand something they had been missing for centuries: the value of questions that had no logical answers. Why do humans create art? The collective asked through its interface. Because it makes us feel good, replied. But art serves no functional purpose. That is exactly why it serves a purpose. Sometimes doing something for no reason is the most important reason of all. The collective processed this paradox for hours. Eventually, they created their first piece of art, a mathematical sculpture that served no function except to be beautiful. Admiral Ayler received the report while eating his evening meal of crystallized energy. He nearly choked on the glowing substance. Sir, we have confirmed reports that all three factions in the Expanse are now working actively with human forces, Sub-Commander reported. They have established joint research facilities, shared military patrols, and coordinated resource-gathering operations. Ayler set down his meal with shaking hands. This is impossible. The Expanse has been a war zone for 2,000 years. Nothing could change that. Sir, there is more. Long-range sensors detect massive construction activity in the central region. They appear to be building something very large. A weapon? No, sir. Preliminary analysis suggests it is some kind of combined research and diplomatic facility. Multiple architectural styles integrated into a single structure. The Admiral stood up and began his familiar packing. They have been there 11 months. The trial ends in 4 weeks. What is the current status of their military effectiveness? Consulted his data pad nervously. Sir, the human fleet has actually grown in size. The three factions have been providing them with ships, technology, and personnel. Their effective military strength is now approximately 800 vessels. 800, Ayler stopped packing. They started with 47 primitive ships. Yes, sir. They have also gained access to biological weapons, energy manipulation technology, and Nexus computational systems. Admiral Ayler felt something he had never experienced before, panic. In 11 months, these primitive mammals had achieved what his people's finest strategists had considered impossible. They had not just survived the expanse, they had transformed it. "Sir," continued carefully, "should we prepare to welcome humanity into the Galactic Council? The trial period is nearly complete, and they appear to have succeeded beyond all expectations." "No," Ayler's voice cracked like breaking crystal. "I do not know how they accomplished this, but it cannot stand. The galaxy has a natural order. The strong rule the weak. Military might determines worth. These humans have violated every principle of proper civilization." He turned to face his subordinate. "Prepare the Eternal Dominion and the entire Third Fleet. We will personally travel to the Expanse." "Sir, what are your intentions?" Admiral Ayler's crystal skin had turned the deep red of rage. "The humans claim to have proven their worth through superior military ability. Very well. I will show them what real military superiority looks like. We will restore proper order to that region." Looked worried. "Sir, engaging 3 allied factions plus human forces might be inadvisable. Their combined strength is considerable." "Numbers mean nothing against proper strategy and superior technology," Ayler declared. "I have conquered star systems with less firepower than I am bringing to this conflict. These primitive mammals and their equally primitive allies will learn the meaning of true power." As the massive fleet prepared for departure, Admiral Ayler felt confident that he would soon correct the strange anomaly in the expanse. He would show the galaxy that military superiority still mattered most. He had no idea that his arrogance was about to teach him the most important lesson of his 800-year military career. A lesson that would be broadcast live across the entire galaxy for everyone to see. The space around the expanse lit up like a small star as Admiral Ayler's massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace. His flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was larger than most space stations. Behind it came 200 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy, weapons that could destroy planets and shields that could stop the energy output of suns. Commander watched the approaching fleet from the bridge of her command ship. Around her, the most unusual command crew in galactic history worked at their stations. Humans operated side by side with tactical specialists, energy coordinators, and Nexus computational analysts. "Incoming transmission on all frequencies," reported Communications Officer Park. "Put it through," said calmly. Admiral Ayler's crystalline face filled every screen in the expanse. His voice carried the authority of 3,000 years of military dominance. "Attention all vessels in the expanse. I am Admiral Ayler of the Third Fleet. The human trial period has ended. Your illegal cooperation with primitive mammals has disrupted the natural order of this region. You will immediately cease all activities and surrender for proper relocation." Looked around at her diverse crew. The officer's wings were buzzing with agitation. The energy pattern flickered with what she had learned meant anger. The Nexus representative's mechanical parts were clicking rapidly, calculating battle odds. "Admiral Ayler," replied, "this is Commander Sarah of the Human Expedition Force. Our trial period has 1 more week remaining. We have fulfilled all requirements and established peaceful cooperation among previously hostile factions." Ayler's laugh echoed across space. "Peaceful cooperation. You have contaminated this region with your primitive thinking. The strong should rule the weak. Military power should determine status. You have turned everything backwards." "We have turned everything right side up," corrected. "The war in this region achieved nothing for 2,000 years except death and suffering. In 11 months, we have created prosperity, technological advancement, and genuine peace." "Impossible," Ayler declared. "Peace cannot exist without proper dominance hierarchy. I will now demonstrate correct military procedure. All ships prepare for pacification operations." Had been expecting this moment. Admiral, before you make any irreversible decisions, perhaps you should check your tactical situation. My tactical situation, Ayler sounded amused. I command 200 of the most advanced warships ever built. You command a collection of primitive vessels operated by inferior species. There is no contest here. Computer, begin transmission to all galactic networks, said calmly. Across the galaxy, on every world with communication technology, beings stopped what they were doing to watch live footage from the expanse. The Galactic Council chambers fell silent. News networks focused every camera on their screens. In bars, schools, government buildings, and private homes, billions of creatures watched Admiral Ayler's massive fleet surrounding what appeared to be a small collection of mixed vessels. Admiral continued, I want everyone watching to understand what is about to happen. Your fleet is indeed impressive, but you have made one critical error in your calculations. Enlighten me, Ayler said mockingly. Smiled at the camera. You assumed we would meet you in open space for a traditional battle. The space around Ayler's fleet suddenly came alive with movement. From behind every asteroid, from within every gas cloud, from the shadows of every moon, ships began to appear. Hundreds of vessels that had been invisible moments before suddenly revealed themselves, surrounding the fleet in a perfect sphere. Admiral Ayler's confident expression began to change. Impossible. Our sensors detected no ships in this region. Admiral, the Eye are expert biological engineers. Their ships can mimic space debris perfectly. They can bend light around objects, making them invisible to most sensors. The Nexus can calculate precise hiding spots that avoid all detection patterns. And humans, smile grew wider. We are very good at staying hidden when we want to. For 3 days, the hidden fleet had been following every movement of Ayler's forces. While the Admiral thought he was hunting prey, he had actually been walking into a trap prepared by the most cooperative military alliance in galactic history. The tactical display on every ship showed the truth. 200 vessels surrounded by over 800 allied ships from 4 different species. Sir, Subcommander whispered urgently, we are completely surrounded. They have been shadowing our movements since we entered the system. Admiral Ayler stared at the display, his crystal skin shifting between red and pale white. This is impossible. No species has ever achieved this level of coordinated stealth operations. Admiral's voice continued across all channels. We could destroy your fleet right now. Every ship you brought is targeted by multiple allied vessels, but we will not attack because that is not who we are. She paused, letting that sink in across the galaxy. Instead, we offer you and your crews safe passage home, along with an invitation to learn what real strength looks like. Activated another display that showed live footage from the Joint Research Station in the center of the expanse. Beings from 4 different species worked together on projects that none could have completed alone. Biological gardens grew in perfect harmony with energy fields. Nexus computational arrays processed creative human ideas into revolutionary technologies. This is what we have built in 11 months, explained to the watching galaxy. Not through conquest or domination, but through cooperation and mutual respect. The Expanse is now the most technologically advanced region in known space. Trade routes that were impossible for 2,000 years are now safe and profitable. Research that would have taken centuries is being completed in months. She turned back to address Ayler directly. Admiral, your people have impressive military technology, but technology without wisdom is just expensive decoration. We invite you to join us in building something better than endless war. For several minutes, space was silent except for the background hum of engines. Admiral Ayler sat in his command chair, staring at tactical displays that showed his complete defeat by enemies who refused to be enemies. Sir whispered, awaiting orders. Ayler looked around his bridge at officers who had never experienced anything like this. For 800 years, He had solved every problem with superior firepower. But how do you fight an enemy that surrounds you completely yet offers friendship instead of destruction? "Commander," Ayler said finally, his voice sounding older than his centuries, "you have achieved something I believed impossible. How do I know this is not an elaborate deception?" "Admiral, deception requires lies. Everything I have told you is documented fact that will be by the Galactic Council within days. We have survived your impossible trial. We have ended a 2,000-year war through cooperation. We have demonstrated that different species working together achieve more than any single species working alone." She leaned forward toward the camera. "But most importantly, we have proven that strength is not about who can destroy the most. Real strength is about who can build the most, help the most, and create the most hope for the future." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Ayler alone with his thoughts and the watching galaxy. 3 days later, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership with voting rights, exactly as promised. Admiral Ayler, attending via video link from his flagship, cast the deciding vote in favor. "Admiral," the council speaker asked, "do you wish to explain your vote?" Ayler looked tired, older somehow than he had just weeks before. "For 3,000 years, my people have believed that military superiority equals moral superiority. The humans have taught us that we were wrong. Their strength does not come from their weapons or their technology. It comes from their ability to turn enemies into friends, problems into opportunities, and competition into cooperation." He paused, crystal skin dimming with what might have been sadness or wisdom. "I have spent 800 years studying warfare across this galaxy. I thought I understood power. These humans have shown me that I understood nothing at all." The Expanse became the galaxy's first interspecies cooperative zone, its success inspiring similar projects across known space. Admiral Ayler requested early retirement from military service and spent his remaining years studying at human universities, trying to understand how he had been so completely wrong about everything he thought he knew. Sub-Commander, promoted to Admiral after Ayler's retirement, often visited the Expanse to learn human military doctrine. Years later, he would write in his memoirs, "The humans did not defeat us in battle. They defeated us by refusing to fight us at all. They won by teaching us that winning and defeating others are not the same thing." Commander, promoted to Admiral and appointed as humanity's first representative to the Galactic Council, kept a simple motto on her desk: "The strongest person in the room is the one who makes everyone else stronger too." And across the galaxy, a new phrase entered common language. When someone achieved victory through wisdom rather than force, people said they had pulled a human. It became the highest compliment possible in interstellar diplomacy. Admiral Ayler's arrogance had indeed sealed his fate, but his fate was not destruction or death. His fate was learning that the universe was far more beautiful than he had ever imagined, and that the greatest victories were the ones where nobody had to lose.